All right, what's up, my brothers? In this video, I want to answer the question, what are you looking for? You often get this from the gals when you're using dating apps, sometimes in real life, and it usually happens when they're over the age of 27, 28, usually 30, if we're being absolutely honest. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not on my regular car, I was given a Tesla Model Y, the new one, for a week to have a go in. You can pop out the card on the top right, and if you want to see the full review, you can check that out over there. In this video, I'm going to answer this question, but I want to start with reading this tweet from a wise man on Twitter or the X platform. He starts with, in quotations, what are you looking for? When a girl asks you this, it's almost always a bad sign. It means that she's hunting for a beta provider on a strict timeline. And she's in no mood to go through the entire dating ritual of pretending to get to know you. She wants a husband, a sperm donor, and a co-parent yesterday. In case you're not paying attention, that means she won't have sex with you until you marry her. Girls who ask you what you're looking for will also typically give you the I don't believe in sex before marriage speech. So if you're thinking of just pulling a fast one on her, you can probably forget about it. The reason why she asks you point blank for you to show your cards is because she's sick and tired of having to guess your intentions and waste even more precious time. She wants to cut to the chase and screen you ASAP. Each menstrual cycle she goes through reminds her that she's inching much closer to permanent infertility and barrenness. To hell with getting to know you at that point, the clock is ticking. My go-to response when a girl asks me what I'm looking for is always, I don't know, it depends. What do you bring to the table? Hit them back with a question that they hate. Fight fire with fire. Now, this post from Jay Bayer, you might want to check him out on X. I'll have my editor put his profile up on the screen for you. I think he's spot on for the most part, with the exception of something like she's not going to have sex with you until marriage. What this really boils down to is these are, again, women trying to screen out guys that might potentially waste her time, that might not be that serious about a commitment. Women have two very distinct phases in life. When they're in their 20s, they're usually not that concerned with family, marriage, having children. They're more concerned with climbing the corporate ladder and or partying. That's often been called their party years. That's where they'll go to Europe and backpack for the summer. They'll go to Vegas, Cancun, Ibiza, the Greek islands for a tour on somebody's sailboat that she barely knows. Women will spend a good part of their 20s, again, either climbing a corporate ladder and or traveling. If they can blend the two, that seems to be the ideal situation. But at some point, by the time they get to their late 20s and they start to realize that some of their friends and their families probably giving them a little bit of pressure to settle down and to find a husband, that's when they start to take things seriously, because they realize that they're not quite as attractive as they used to be when they were younger. They realize that the hangover lasts a little bit longer. They realize that maybe all the cigarettes and the drugs that they were doing when they were partying is starting to take a toll on them, and they start to notice when they look in the mirror a couple of cracks and lines in the face. So they have to get serious, and they have to get serious fast. And this phase of their life is usually called the epiphany phase. And that's when they come to the realization, oh, I got to do something and I got to move fast because I'm 30 or I'm going to be 30 soon. So it's usually that mark in the sand, or that line in the sand, if I can put it that way, where they start to get serious about finding a good guy. Now, the guys that they usually get for situations like this are generally not their first choice. They're generally guys that they would have probably passed on, or may have even been completely invisible to them when they were in their 20s, partying and hanging out and climbing the corporate ladder and hooking up and spending nights with Chad and Tyrone very, very quickly. Those guys got her best very quickly, but when she starts putting off and starts to create some distance between her and sexual intimacy, it's not usually the best strategy. I'll explain that in a little bit, but I made a video a number of years ago, put a card up in the top right for baby rabies. And very quickly, what women get to at some point is the biological clock is always there. It's always ticking, and at some point it makes an announcement and it says something to her along the line of, hey lady, where's the babies? I talked about this in my book, The Unplugged Alpha. And that's what baby rabies is, and that's usually the underlying factor here when it comes to women starting to ask questions like, what are you looking for on this app? For example. What that boils down to, and again, there's an entire chapter in my book on this topic, is the notion of genuine burning desire. Because a woman that has genuine burning desire for a guy can't afford to push him away, scare him, say or do anything that might repel a hot dude. Ask her how long she made a guy wait that she was hot for when she was sailing the Greek islands in her 20s, when she was in Vegas for a weekend for her girlfriend's bachelorette party. They don't usually make handsome, high-value men wait. They don't ask them what you're looking for. What are you looking for here in this nightclub? If you know what I'm saying. What they do is they sort of move into their natural state, especially if she was drunk, the lights were dark, and it was that right time in the ovulatory shift that she just wanted to get with the guy. You don't want to be the "what are you looking for" guy. Unfortunately, over the age of 27, 30-ish or so, and then beyond that, there's a fairly strong contingent of women, especially on dating apps, that will try to make you wait. And this isn't a very good strategy. Guys really don't like paying a greater price for something that was giving away much cheaper, even freely, to a different guy. I'm going to spell that out for you. She might have hopped into the sack with Luigi when she was in Italy for the summer within an hour or two of meeting him, but wants to set a 8-date rule before she's going to sleep with you, or make you wait 3 months before she's going to give up the nookie. That is a total lack of genuine burning desire. What that does is that's a position of negotiation, and she's trying to negotiate with you. You don't want to get yourself in a situation with a woman where you're negotiating intimacy. The negotiation of intimacy will almost always lead to obligated compliance and resentment down the road, which is not what you want. You want unyielding, genuine burning desire. She's hot to trot. You know what it looks like because you meet her at a bar, for your first date or something like that, and she comes skipping in, dressed to the nines, hair and makeup done, revealing clothing, maybe skin exposed, but just looking hot with a big smile on her face, gives you a big hug and a kiss, maybe even on the lips almost immediately right away, and is enthusiastic and smiling and a lot of kino, and she's touching you on the date. That's what genuine burning desire looks like. And any guy that's ever had that knows what it looks and feels like, and is also often in a position to say, hey, do you want to get out of here and go to my place or something like that? And they'll often take them up on that sort of thing. One of the great disadvantages of being in a position sitting across from a woman that's asking the question, what are you looking for, is these guys, because they're not her first choice, because she's not that enthusiastic about it, because she's setting rules for him. And I've said this before, but women will make rules for men that they see as beta males, and they'll break rules for men that they see as alpha. Again, ask her how long she made Luigi wait in Italy when she was there for the summer versus the guy that she's sitting across from the table explaining that she's got a 3-month rule before she'll be intimate with a guy, or maybe even, as our friend on X suggested, that she doesn't want to be intimate until she's married. She's saving herself for marriage, which is hilarious because you actually hear or see this often from women that often have children from prior marriages, from women that have spent their 20s partying, sharing her body with a lot of men, being highly promiscuous, and then all of a sudden they want to get right with God and not have any kind of sexual intimacy until they get married. This is a very, very bad place to be for a number of reasons, but primarily because you're not her first choice. Guys that sign up for a relationship with a woman that sit there and say something like, oh, well, I'm looking for a family too, and they have this conversation and she's like, well, I'd like to wait, 2 or 3 months before, we have any kind of sexual intimacy. And he's like, yeah, I'm all about that because I really like you and I want to know that this is a real deal. Guys like this are losers. They end up waiting 2 or 3 months for something that she gave away after sometimes 2 or 3 hours. And it's a bad look on them. She doesn't really like the guy. And these are the exact same guys, the vast majority of men anyway, that women tend to spend a lot of time getting married to, who they also, by the way, complain and whine about to their girlfriends and their family a few years after getting married and popping out the kids, and then realizing that they really don't have a lot of enthusiasm for this guy. He's annoying, he's incompetent, he's not resourceful, and she wants to untie the knot. And it's these guys, because she doesn't have genuine burning desire, because he was never her first choice, that get destroyed in the family court system. So, gentlemen, when you hear what are you looking for, now you know what it is that's going on. Now you know the backstory that led up to what are you looking for, and now you know how to navigate it correctly. I'm going to share a very quick story before we wrap up this video, which is in my book. I remember meeting this gal on a date a number of years ago. Met her on a dating app. She showed up a little bit taller and heavier than what I like, not my style, but I was already there. She was cute, and I figured out, sit down, have a drink, and we'll chop it up. A few minutes into having our drink served to us and starting the conversation, she announces that online dating hasn't been the greatest for her. It's not really her thing. I think she was in her mid to late 30s, if I'm not mistaken, at this time. And she now had an 8-date rule before anything would happen. I said, well, what do you mean an 8-date rule? And she said, 8 dates before there's any kind of intimacy in the bedroom. And I laughed, and I looked at her with amused mastery, and I thought to myself, this woman's absolutely nuts. She's trying to shit test me, and she thinks I'm a beta male. So I just laughed and I said, I don't play that game. For me, when it comes to intimacy, it's not negotiated. It's got to be organic, authentic. And if it's not, I'm just not interested in it. Now, with me pushing back in that area and having that very brief 25-second conversation explaining that part to her, it was very interesting what happened next, because she made a gesture towards the bathroom and said, let's go right now. Now, one of the first times in my life, or one of the few times in my life anyway, that I had denied a strong advance from a woman. Again, she wasn't really my type, but that's how that can shift that quickly. It went from an 8-date rule to literally 15 minutes after I sat down at the table and had my first sip of my drink. So don't fall for it, guys. Don't play that game. Generally speaking, if you're a guy in your 30s or maybe early 40s and you got your life squared away, you're sorted, you have a good social network, you're influential, you dress well, you make a lot of money, you drive a nice car, you got a good house, all that sort of stuff, you should generally be staying away from the what are you looking for girl crowd. Date a little bit younger, date probably mid-20s before they start trying to negotiate these kinds of arrangements. And generally, you want to get her, if you're looking for a family, if you're looking for something long-term or a more serious basis, you want to get her before she's been running around and racked up the knots and ended up with a promiscuous past. Those women really aren't a good choice for a long-term relationship. So be mindful of that, navigate it correctly. You should check out the top pinned comment below. It's got my book and a link to my school community, which has loads of content that is far more advanced than what I just talked right now that'll help walk you through all of that. It's like $50 a month. Go check it out. We'll see you guys later. Have an awesome day. Peace.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show